Good morning. I just literally just woke up. So it is 7:30. I woke up and looked at the clock. It was 7:26. So I didn't drink any coffee or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe I'll wake up this way. But yeah, I clipped it off my hair, my remaining hairs. There's pictures of me on here when I used to have like crazy hair. That was like everybody loved my hair. It was always complimenting me on my hair. And that my hair had done left. It decided to go fly south for the winter. Oh, shoot, a long time ago. I might have told that story before where I come out of the DMV and I didn't know I was going bald because nobody would tell me, you know. I don't know why, but I was thinning out. And it showed up in my DMV picture. I started swearing like an insane person outside the DMV. And the person that drove me there was like, "What? What's the matter with you? You losing your mind or what?" And I said, "No, man, look at this picture." I showed my picture, and they're like, "You didn't know?" I'm like, "No, this is the first time I realized that I was going bald." And I think that was like, wow. I was like my mid 30s, you know. So there's that old expression about I had hair when I needed it, son. Well, that doesn't apply to me because I had this thing going on where I had this great big head, with my mansion of many thoughts, many rooms in it, my little Hannibal Lecter house in it. And so it was kind of a tough thing to rock all that hair with a big ass head. It was just rough, you know. I had so much hair that it was like, and so thick and all that, it was like for a smaller person. Anyways, I have no idea why I had the urge to show you me waking up. I had any coffee or anything like that. I drank like 2 cups of coffee yesterday, and my heart. It just I don't know if I had anxiety. I mean, I tested my heart rate and it wasn't crazy high or anything like that, and I realized I didn't have any blood pressure pills to knock that down. I'm like, is this anxiety or what is this? I don't know what this is, but I like slept all day yesterday. I had my EMG test on Tuesday. Today is Thursday. Like Wednesday, I literally just slept all day. I think it was just leftover stress and uh, having that cold. That when I had the 101 fever. I think on Saturday. I don't know what I'm going to feel like today. I'm really not awake yet. What my leg is going to be, but my leg reacted very badly to the EMG test, which is first they put just like little stickers on you and stimulate your nerves that way, and they make your feet jump and your calf contract and stuff. And then they bring out the needles and they stick needles in you. None of that was no big deal to me. The things that happened to me, it was nothing to me. I was warned that I'm not going to. Very nice person I recently met on here said, "You're not going to like it. It's not pleasant." And I'm like, I had a screw drilled in my head while I was conscious. I mean, kind of takes a lot to. The not pleasant part for me is actually because I got anxiety and I got like hyperactive type mind is the time before I go and like getting ready. That's why the bone scan thing was so frustrating for me, is because I had to go through that anxiety like 4 or 5 times. Um, and I kept not being able to do it. And then when I finally got it done, It's like a 5 hour thing. It's like an all day thing. You know, they put a dye in you, and then they give you like 3 hours of free time, and then you have to go back in and lay on the table for like 2 hours and literally not move. Um, when that proved inconclusive and a waste of my time, man, that makes you feel homicidal things towards the medical community. And it reminded me like why I didn't go to any doctors for so many years. This guy was so insistent he wasn't going to treat me. He wasn't going to do anything for me until I had this test, right? 5 hour test where I'm getting the radioactive isotope injected in me. And it takes 5 hours because they inject it in you and then you got to wait 3 hours for it to go through your system, and then they want to do it before and after. And it turns out that that was just all a big waste of time, and it turned out actually to have negative results because they just went back in time because it's inconclusive to a doctor. That means we can't treat you like you have CRPS because, as far as we know, you don't have it. Because that's what the whole reason he gave me the test. He's like, they had primitive diagnostic tools in 1986. Uh, that's when I contracted it. When I got diagnosed was much later, unfortunately for me, because it's just something you have to catch early. You don't catch it early, your chances of knocking it into remission, very slim. So when they did the nerve block test to me, it was like, I don't know, 3 years. Stampy. It was like 3 years before, um, or 3 years after I had already contracted it. Because as usual, when I talk, people don't listen. I'm the opposite of E.F. Hutton. Steve talks, no one listens. So if I tell people like, I was telling them in the hospital, literally as soon as I got conscious, I was like, "You're supposed to operate on my back. What the fuck did you do to my legs?" Because my legs were on fire, and then I complained the whole time, and they were like, "It's all just post-operative," because they're used to dealing with people that, frankly, are pussies and did not grow up around a lot of pain. And I told another story on here where my dad was carrying 3 bundles of shingles and wearing heavy, hard-soled shoes and stepped on my fingers because I was following too close, and he took a misstep, and he stepped backwards and stepped on my fingers on the rung of the ladder, and I didn't even hear a peep out of me. So I was taught not to complain. So if I ever complained, it was a serious thing. But that's not how ordinary people work. Ordinary people work is they're in a lot of pain. They make with the hysterics, I guess, and the waterworks and stuff like that. But since I grew up around my dad, who I knew put people in the ground, um, I would just tell people like something's not right, and calmly say that my legs were on fire and that like there's something wrong with me. So they didn't listen to me when I was in the hospital in 1986 when I contracted CRPS, and I would just tell them like something's not right with me. I'm in like a lot of pain. They're like, well, you'll get that with it's post-operative pain. You'll get that. That happens. And after a while, I just shut up because nobody's listening to me anyway. So I remember going home and then just being in like a living hell in a back brace that was removable, but I had to wear a back brace because I had a spinal reconstruction surgery, and they sent me home because at one point in the hospital I was I believe it was, my memory's a little foggy, but I believe I was 6'1", and I weighed 128 pounds, and I wasn't eating. I was like an Ethiopian or a Biafran uh, person. There was no flies buzzing around me. That's about the only difference, and I'm a lot lighter complected. They're like, well, they actually said, you're not getting any better in here, so we're just gonna send you home. And I remember the doctor like being all jovial like they do and saying, well, once you get home and you get acclimated to being home, you get some of that good home cooking in you, and then you'll put on some weight. Well, when I got home, I didn't want to eat either. I don't know if that was the new CRPS doing that or what that was, but I couldn't really eat. The only thing I could eat was yogurt and a certain kind of pizza. That's like all I ate. And I remember I had that rib removed, and that wound was fresh, and I just lived in fear of coughing. Anything that involved expansion and contraction of my ribs beyond breathing, because even like taking deep breaths hurt. So I was like, if I coughed, it was like somebody with broken ribs, I guess. Never had broken ribs. I just had a rib taken out, and so I was like super nauseous all the time and sick. It was just hell recovering from that, you know. And I had CRPS, and just nobody knew it because I don't know why. I told them that my feet were looking weird and colorful, and I told them like, I wasn't recovering. They said that usually when people have that surgery, they get them up and walking around within a couple of weeks. They're at least standing up and walking. They try to get them to take a few steps, and I mean, I couldn't do that, and it took me a long time to learn how to walk. I do remember, like, uh, I finally learned. I had like an upstairs bedroom. And I finally learned how to like walk up steps. It took me a really long time, and my brother stole my bedroom, which I've told I've forgiven him for that. But he needed it more than I did, I guess. So I was like stuck, stinking. I was stuck sleeping in the living room. No privacy, no nothing. At first in a hospital bed, and then once we were able to get rid of the hospital bed, this was over the span of like, God, 3 years. And then on a couch. And the thing that this thing drives me crazy to this day is, I may have talked about this before or not, but my dad well, he was a TV bug, so I'm sleeping in the room with the TV. So he's always watching TV. And he always used to drink steady like this coffee that no human being should drink, especially a mean human being. I mean, I could not drink his coffee. It was literally like drinking whiskey, like straight whiskey to me, because it was just so thick, and he didn't put any sugar, he didn't put any milk in it. And when even years later, when I got to be somewhat peaceful terms with him, I'd go over there and I'd try to drink his coffee, and I'd have to like fill half of the cup up with milk, and it would still be too strong. It's like, I don't know how anybody could drink that. He'd just sit there and drink that. It's like I couldn't have helped him be any nicer. But anyways, he'd sit there and drink his high octane, actually like milkshake thickness coffee. That was crazy. He had like an old fashioned coffee pot too that he used, I remember. But yeah, he was something else. The thing that I'm getting to is like I had to sleep in the same room with him all the time. And he had this rank, stinking feet, like he had athlete's feet or something like that. And I can still smell it after. I still remember what his feet smell like after 40 years. Oh, hell, it'd be like 45 years. That's how bad his feet stank. And, and how, like, all the dude had to do was go get some antifungal spray and spray his feet. And then when I found out, like, years later, that he actually went out, I don't know what prompted him to do it, but he went out and took care of his abusively stinky feet problem that he abused all of us in the house with for years and years with antifungal spray, and his feet didn't stink anymore. And I had already been long gone, long moved out of the house. I got real angry, man. I was like, that's all it took? Because I thought he had like some kind of like disease or something, you know, like somebody would catch in Calcutta, India, where your feet are slowly rotting off. They stunk so bad. And here all he had to do was take some antifungal spray and wipe it out. And maybe he had severe athlete's feet. I don't know how you can have severe athlete's feet and not do anything about it though, because that's actually painful. That I've known people that had that, and it's freaking painful. Anyways, I remember being really angry about that. And not angry about, not being taught anything by him or being terrorized by him or anything of the other things about him. I was more angry about that than anything else because that was completely preventable. And I had to, like, try to go to sleep with that smell in my nose for, like, years because I had nowhere to go. And I was, uh, emotionally devastated by the time I was 18. I don't remember exactly when I even was diagnosed with CRPS, but it was sometime between 86 and 1990. I think the nerve blocks, I was already moved out of the house when I had the nerve blocks. And so they were like probably 1999. There was just, I had them at Cleveland Clinic. And they just got me super high and feeling wonderful for one day. That's all they did. I went right back to where I was. Um, but I already told that story on here where I was in Cleveland Clinic by myself and bombed out of my skull. And I'll skip the naked thermography story, but just go to the part where I'm waiting for my ride because I said, meet me in this lobby. And I don't live anywhere near Cleveland as far as a convenient distance. I'm in northern Ohio, but I don't live that close to Cleveland. So I had a guy coming to pick me up, and I was still like high as shit, and I fell asleep. And this is when, well, I don't know how relations are now between us Americans and the Islamic Arabic world. I don't know how things are now, but back then it wasn't too cool. I mean, so anyways, I fall asleep on this like dead out of sleep. So I wake up to the sound of Halamalama Al Akbar in my ears, and I look up and there's just a bunch of people standing around me with turbans on, speaking in Arabic because that's a huge international hospital. You're likely to see anybody and hear any language. Cleveland Clinic, I don't know if it's still that big a deal, but that was a big deal hospital when I was there. And I had a serious disorientation moment where I'm like, am I a hostage? Because that's all you heard about back then was that was more like instead of like bombing Americans, it was more like hostage, and the image of the plane on the tarmac where they hijacked a plane in the 80s was all fresh in everybody's mind. So I wasn't hearing no English. I was just hearing a bunch of Arabic, and I was high out of my head, and I just woke up in a strange place. It was all disoriented. Didn't know where I was, and I'm just hearing a bunch of Arabic and looking at a bunch of people with turbans on their head. And the place that I come from is pretty monochromatic. There's white, and then there was like whiter. That's the two shades we had. We didn't even have our first person of color, or whatever they call people with darker shades of skin now, in the neighborhood. Like, you actually had to walk a pretty good distance, is like how white bread a suburb I lived in. So that was a jarring experience, though. I was like, am I kidnapped? Being held for ransom. Are they gonna like just having all these thoughts because I was all high because they shot me up with a bunch of drugs. And I didn't know where I was or anything like that. All I saw was all these people standing around this like little two-person lounge chair that I had fallen asleep on, speaking Arabic and animatedly. And in my mind, they were, if I had a translator, they were like, "We make him Take message later. Send to American infidel. Hold up sign saying how America is decadent, horrible place. You know. So yeah, that was kind of unforgettable. But anyways, um, yeah, I already made that video yesterday about where I had my lightning rod card, and I have no idea why I have had the urge to show you me waking up, but this is me waking up. Um, I've been awake now for all of 20 odd minutes, 20, I don't know, 5 minutes. So, uh, yeah, I got some blood pressure pills off of somebody else yesterday because I didn't have any, and I drank too much coffee yesterday, and I had like either anxiety or I just drank too much coffee. And my heart, I tested my heart rate, and it was around 100 at the most. I mean, it was between 90 and 100. I'm never good at taking my own pulse. Kept getting somewhere in the 90s, and I was like, yeah, that's like higher than it should be. I started getting anxious and stuff because that's the worst thing about having heart trouble. Than anybody that, you know, I know all these people that smoke, and it's like, man, you got no idea what you're risking because that never leaves in your mind. Once you've had a heart trouble, that's like always there in the back of your mind. Is like, is my heart gonna be an asshole today? And you know, think about that. You know, I have to think about that like a lot, and I'm not putting out the money for one of those bracelets that might, you know, that's an accurate measurement of your heart rate and everything that people have. They're real super expensive. If you want to get a good one, you got to pay between 150 and $300. I mean, I was trying to get the El Cheapo ones, and that don't work, you know. So I was trying to go cheap, and none of them worked. I ended up just throwing them away. Um, where it was just like, oh, this is a watch that'll take your heart rate, and I'm like, no, they just don't work. You have to get something that's expensive where you can monitor your heart. And I thought, I don't really know if I want to spend my whole day like looking at my heart rate, you know. And I don't know if it shows like whether it beats a regular or not, but I kind of just want to forget it. I just kind of want to go spin the clock backwards and just forget about my heart altogether. Anytime I'm thinking about my heart, I'm not thinking good things. It's for me. It's like thinking about the monster under the bed. If I was a 10-year-old, I got some old tea here from last night. No, yesterday was weird because I got those blood pressure pills, and I um, got a couple of cigarettes. I had a cigarette Jones because I'm a tobacco addict, like a non. You know how they have dry alcoholics. I'm like a dry tobacco addict. If I have an opportunity to smoke, I will smoke. So yesterday when I got the blood pressure pills and made this deal with this person, um, I you know, they're having a hard time, I guess, because the government got shut down and it screwed some people over as far as like their food stamps. So my aunt, who is actually in the hospital right now and had like 3 stents put in her heart, and they're just trying to keep her alive. They cut out her food stamps just because, I don't know. My food stamps haven't got cut out. I'm still calling them food stamps. They're called like SNAP benefits or EBT or something now. But they used to be actual stamps, you know, like actual fake looking money, and they were on a stub. People used to call them grub stubs too. But you know, so far, I don't want to talk politics. Believe me, I don't like to talk politics. But so far, my benefits haven't been affected by whatever nonsense is going on in the government. But this lady's in the hospital, and yeah, they took away her benefits, which are needed by the people that are taking care of her and looking after her in the hospital. So I traded like, well, I don't know if you call it traded, but I had like some frozen dinners. So I sent the person home with some frozen dinners, and I got some blood pressure medication and 2 cigarettes. But when I came home after I had my EMG test on Tuesday, I had the worst tobacco Jones ever. And when I was riding home on the bus, I was like, saw somebody walking across the field lighting up, and that was all she wrote. It's like it was all I could do to keep. I knew the driver did not look like a smoker. He did not, he didn't act like a smoker, and probably wasn't a smoker. But I wanted to ask him so bad. I was being friendly with him, and I can actually be charming sometimes, believe it or not. Even though I live alone, I can actually, use the Dale Carnegie method of getting people to talk about themselves, because hey, we're all interested in ourselves more than I don't give a damn what anybody says. Everyone is interested in themselves way more than they're interested in other people. Uh, that's just we're we're still survival based creatures, and that's just the way it is. But that doesn't mean you can't be interested in other people. You're just going to be interested in yourself. So if you really want to, I don't want, I'll use the word ingratiate, but if you really want to be friendly with somebody or get somebody going, is if you can delicately get them talking about themselves, man, you got them. So I had this guy talking about how long he's been driving. I made some comments, positive comments about his driving, and um, got him going talking and stuff. And I had him on friendly terms, so I could have tried. I was like, I really want to bum a cigarette off of this dude. And then I got home and I wanted a cigarette so bad because of my addiction. I got on my phone and I started texting the dude in the wheelchair who's trying to quit. That's like next door to me. The guy that got stuck outside that I tried to push up the ramp. And I successfully pushed him up the ramp, but I fell down and got this nice bruise on me. But I was texting him, like I was going to actually text him and interact with him just to try to get up on a cigarette off him. And yeah, so that's a horrible addiction, man. It's like I didn't even start doing it. I did not start smoking until I was in my 20s. So I can only imagine how hard it is for somebody to quit smoking who started smoking in their teens. And like I'm older, so I know people that started smoking when they were 10 or 11 years old. I talk to this dude in Florida all the time, and you can just hear it. Like I think sometimes, how are you even alive? I told him, man, I told him about a couple of times. It's like, yeah, I can hear that lighter flicking, and if it was possible, I'd have you push one of them cigarettes down there from Florida through the phone for me, so I can hear the lighter going off. Sometimes you can hear the people inhaling and puffing and stuff. But man, what a horrible, horrible habit that is. Um, as far as the EMG thing, I was warned that that would be unpleasant and stuff, but I've had screws driven in my head while I was awake. I had a, a, a test done, like to monitor all my nerves, like from head to toe, where they put in these little tiny platinum needles, and they treated me like a marionette and sent electricity through me before. So, I remember they put them in my head too. I do remember that part of it. They like put these little tiny platinum. They had to be platinum for some reason. They kept impressing that fact upon me. They could control any nerve in my body, but it was more a monitoring system, so that when they actually did the surgery on me, they could test to see if they were fucking up any of my nerves by, making my fingers and toes and my muscles move and stuff like that. But they did that while I was awake to test it out. So I was like, moving and stuff, but it wasn't me moving. So the test itself held no terror for me at all. What was terrifying was the fact that my transportation I arranged had a 12:30 appointment, and they showed up at 10:15, and I got to the hospital at 10:47. And I was like, They were like, you are kind of early, and I was almost a full 2 hours early for the appointment. And I was like, had a cold, and I killed time by writing, texting, you know, just texting people nonsense, and killed time that way. And then when I had the test, the dude was, I like those kind of guys though, but he's like, was sort of um, blunt. He was older. He was blunt, and he was like dismissive when he hears something you say that he doesn't agree with, so you know where he stands and stuff like that. I like them kind of guys, and usually they're the older guys. But I was talking about stuff going on. He was like, just gives you that, shakes his head like, no. Mm-mm. But anyways, they're the test is actually first they put these like little sticker things on you, and then they go with the straight needle and poke you with the needle. He asked me at one time, "Are you doing okay?" And I felt like laughing because people will know your medical history, but they don't know what you've been through. So it's like, dude, the stuff I've been through, this is nothing at all. This is meaningless. It's like, yeah, it's like asking somebody that has been attacked by a hive of bees if they're okay after they get stung by one honeybee. It's just silly. So he's like, "Are you okay? You know, are you handling this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But the thing of it is like the test didn't bother me, but it screwed my leg up. Like whatever they did to my leg, it like hurt really, really bad after I got home. And then I don't know what it's gonna be like today, but it hurt after I got home on Tuesday. It hurt Wednesday, and I slept through most of Wednesday. Just during the day, I just slept. I was like, well, my body wants to sleep. I'm gonna let it sleep because my leg hurts and I don't like it. And I didn't take any uh, gabapentin during the day yesterday, but I did mix gabapentin and Valium last night because that fucks me up. Hear that ambulance? I don't know. That fucks me up, and that mixture of those two drugs, and it makes me sleep. So I wanted to sleep, and I wanted to wake. I like waking up in the morning, so I accomplished that. This video is already 32 minutes. I didn't talk about the fact that I was going bananas yesterday because of the noise upstairs. While I was trying to take in a nap, there was a kid like running over top of my bedroom. Anybody that lives in a house, please appreciate that, and that you don't live in an apartment, because living in an apartment sucks. But there was just I was trying to sleep like, and it was invading my dreams and stuff. There was just so much noise upstairs and voices and yelling, and this kid running around, boom 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 boom. It's like, Stampy is bad enough. I kind of got used to that. I didn't know how I would even fare with Stampy. It's like, how am I going to be trapped in the house with Stampy? The Stamposaurus, Stampalicious. How am I going to be trapped? How am I going to be stuck upstairs stuck here and that upstairs all winter? I mean, is it gonna? I was actually worried that it would just drive me to madness, to where I'd have to confront somebody and just say, please stop walking, because and I, my landlord, obviously he don't care. He just wants to get paid, but they're getting paid. Their rent is getting paid by something called SMH. Well, it's a big county, so it's just Stark Metropolitan Housing. So they're not going anywhere. My landlord likes that. He likes that guaranteed money coming in. He likes y'all's tax dollars paying for that stuff. So, and he don't care. I complained to him about it, and I said, I know this is the weirdest complaint you've ever had, but this woman walks like a brontosaurus. Like, I don't know if I can take it. This was like back in October, because I knew I had a whole Ohio winter facing me, not being able to walk, just trapped in the house with boom, 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 bang, bang. It's more like boom, 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 boom. Yesterday it was the kid, because it was like boom, boom, bang, 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 bang. It was like quick little steps. But yeah, it's a lot of noise, and I don't know those people. I don't really want to know those people because I figure, you know, I guess I'm going to have to get friendly with them at some point. But a lot of times I feel like, well, if I'm standoff, if I don't make them like welcome living here just by being standoffish and just keeping to myself, maybe they'll leave. But I don't think they're not going to leave. It's Stark Metropolitan Housing. They're getting paid. I had a nice gay dude living up there, and he used to sing opera in the shower and stuff. That guy was a great tenant, and he didn't stay because he was actually working for a living and not getting his apartment paid for by agencies and whatnot. So he lost his job and he had to move. But I'm sure I told this story before. The dude he's 6'3" and like, God, 220 to 250, just a huge dude. I mean, he's at least 6'3". He was bigger than me by a lot. And I watched him carry a whole dresser into the building by himself. And I'm like, how is it even humanly possible? I was like, I better make friends with this dude. So I went up to him. I said, hey, you're new in the building. My name's Steve. And he was like, hi, how you doing? How's things going? You like living here? And that's my best stereotypical gay dude voice I can do. But he was swishy. I guess is the term. I was like taken aback because, I just saw him commit these amazing feats of strength. And, he, I don't know if I forget being politically correct. Sometimes I can look at a guy across a football field. I'd be like, gay dude. This is one of them guys that, like, you couldn't tell just on sight. That might be offensive to gay people. I don't know, but I swear to God that if you've lived long enough, sometimes you can just tell by looking at somebody. They don't have to have a rainbow hat or anything on them. You just know they're a gay person. And I don't really care. I'm not really interested in that. It doesn't have anything to do with me. So I don't care about it. But that guy did not stay. All the good tenants, they never stay. The people that stay are like the crackheads, the crack dealers, the pot dealers, the meth dealers. The bad people always stay. The good people never stay. So this big, huge opera singing, powerlifting gay dude did not stay. He used to sing opera in the shower. I've never heard anybody sing opera before. And I was over here with my sister one time watching TV, and I heard it, and she didn't hear it. She was wrapped up in the TV, and I paused the TV, and I said, man, listen to this. And he was up there, and he was like, oh, but oh, and he was singing like an opera, and I'm like, she's like, what is that? And I said, I told you that's the guy upstairs. He sings opera when he takes a shower. And she's like, wow, he's got a good voice. And I'm like, yeah, he does. I never heard anybody sing opera before, but he's pretty good. And anyways, the aftermath of the EMG test is like, I was planning on making my calls yesterday. All I did was sleep yesterday, and I was in a lot of pain. So I slept the business hours time away, and I woke up when it was dark out when I woke up. I woke up, I drank too much coffee. I took a volume and kind of like, with 4 hour spacing, and I just went to sleep and I stayed asleep. And I don't feel too bad for first thing in the morning. I haven't tried to walk on this horrible thing yet, but I'm getting closer, I think, to the surgery that I need done. And I'm going to stick with this guy. This guy's name is Cochran. I'm going to stick with this guy. He seemed very against surgery, but I'm going to call him up today. And as soon as I wake up, and tell him, I know you got test results, and I'd like the first available appointment. I didn't know about this bump up list. That was like the first cancellation, the first available appointment you get, I want. you know, it can be as short a notice as you want it to be. Just please call me. And I, I, I have high hopes. I mean, it's already done a lot of damage to me having a Baker cyst because of the not walking. That's made me a lot weaker, and it's affected my other leg badly, which I saw when I had the bone scan because there was like I was looking at the scan while they were doing it, and they said, "You see this white part on your knee? That's that's the cyst, and that's the inflammation around it." And I said, "Well, why is my left leg like that?" And they said, "Well, a lot of times when you have one bad leg, it affects the other leg because they work. One hand washes the other. They work in tandem. So it's really had a bad effect on me. Suffering with this Baker cyst so long and having it misdiagnosed and all that. So point being is like if they told me that I don't know if I'm up for it today, but if they told me tomorrow that they want to do surgery on me, I'm like, let's go, let's get it done, get her done, and so I can start walking normal again. Uh, my financial situation really took a turn for the worse. It's like I had a disconnect notice for my electricity, and I was like, I had to pay like $200, and it's like, how did that even happen? I mean, what am I doing that's costing the $200? I taped up the hole in the wall where the cold air was coming in. It's like, I know the TV's an electricity eater. I'm like, why is my electric bill so high these days? Because it used to be like $35 to $50 a month, my electric bill, and now it's, like over $100 a month. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, now that I got maybe I put that cardboard up there too late, and it's just the effect of, me worrying about other things like walking. But anyways, the EMG test, yeah, that did not hurt at the time. It hurt a lot afterwards. My muscles and my leg did not like it. The needles in my knee and stuff, and my calf. My leg did not care for getting shot up with electricity at all. So yesterday it was hard to walk around even when I was awake. But today I tried it. I'm going to drink a little bit of coffee and try to get moving and get awake. I did up dose on the Valium, but I actually just up dose to what my doctor's been ordering me to take, more or less. So it wasn't like up dose, like popping pill after pill. It was up dosing, like taking what I was actually ordered to take. Uh, it wasn't, I, it wasn't like, I don't think it's gonna be like taking more of Xanax, which is a disastrous thing to do. You don't ever want to up dose if you got a Xanax thing going on. That's really bad news. That never worked out well for me. I'd have serious dental appointments or um, serious things going on, and I would up dose, and it would have disastrous effects. Going back down was just, the withdrawal symptoms were just horrible. And going back down, I don't think going back from what I'm actually being prescribed to take to what I was taking, I don't think it's going to be a problem with volume. Because, like said before, I talked to my psychologist who has some training in pharmacology, and she said that's uh, like a mistake that a lot of people make is they think that benzos are interchangeable, and they're all different. They just work in a similar way. It's like, but they're all different. They have different half-lives, different effects on people. And Valium, while being, I don't know, 10 to 20 times weaker than Xanax, it makes me sleepy. Xanax doesn't make me sleepy. So I know this for a fact that they have, from a personal standpoint, that, I also took Ativan before, which is another benzo, but only briefly and years ago. And that had really no effect on me. Like Xanax was the thing that had the bad effect on me. And so I know that they're all different, and that people are like, when I was trying to buy stuff off of the street because I didn't trust my doctor to help me out, which proved to be wise and the truth. Um, they were like, well, it's the same thing. You know, they're trying to tell me that Valium was the same thing as Xanax, or diazepam was the same thing as alprazolam, and I'm like, no, it's not. So I don't anticipate any problems as far as dropping my dose back down after, as soon as I got that cold on Saturday, and today is Thursday, I immediately updosed. So I was like, I'm under stress. I have this appointment coming up, this EMG thing coming up. I'm under stress and I'm sick on top of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and updose. And, I'm not going to put any extra strain on myself. And so I've been updosed for, I don't know what the date, the date's the 7th, I think. So for a week, I've been taking at least three 10 milligram tablets of diazepam or Valium. 10 milligrams 3 times a day, just like I was directed. Um, and I don't anticipate any Xanax like problems of just being sicker than hell. And I was remembering yesterday how I used to wake up and just feel like death when I was on Xanax, and I don't feel that anymore. I still wake up and I feel the CRPS stuff, but I mean, I would feel like death on top of it. I would just feel horrible when I would wake up. And I did a couple of videos on here, like I'm doing now, where I just wake up, literally just wake up and start talking. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get through the day, and you can just tell that the misery that it caused, which is the whole point, besides me liking to talk, was the whole point of me doing these videos is to show. Uh, I don't really believe that benzodiazepines are good for anybody, but they're worse for some people, even in my experience. But yeah, I would tell anybody that hasn't taken them to really think hard about taking them. Um, there's not just the risk of physical dependence, but they do have a bad effect on your mind. Because I used to be, now I'm 51 years old, so I should not be getting into like early dementia, senile territory, and stuff like that. But there's a guy in this old Gunsmoke movie named Harry Dean Stanton that was a famous actor, and I can't, used to be like that. I could think of names like that. I could recognize people's faces, and be like, I play a game with people which would annoy people, but I like, do you know what that actor's name is or who that is? And it'd be somebody famous, but they would be not, they'd be in a role, in some obscure role or like that. And I would recognize them right away. And I would play that game with my sister all the time. She'd always lose. I'd be like, oh, that's Sybil Shepherd. She's probably only like 25 years old there. Or I'd be like, yeah, that's actually, believe it or not, that's actually Jack Nicholson with a beard. Or, those are just two examples that probably never happened. But, yeah. So, I'm just looking forward to being able to walk again. It's been so long since I've been able to walk because of the Baker's cyst thing. The Baker's cyst thing, in combination with a pretty severe case of CRPS, like from here down, I have CRPS symptoms. I don't know, like, what a Baker's cyst would be like for a normal person or how it would affect their walking. I think it would just be like real painful for them to walk, but for me, it's a really bad thing. So I haven't been able to walk right for like 3 years. So I'm probably gonna have to go through some rehab after the surgery that they're eventually gonna get off their lazy asses and do. And but once I get to where I'm walking around, I'm gonna walk all the time. So I was walking with a cane like around my neighborhood for this was just like a couple of years ago or less, and every step was an ouch. But I was still walking with it because I was like, man, I don't want to lose the power to walk. But now I can't do that. I can't do that safely, and the pain is excruciating. And I can't do that even safely. There's a safety issue there too about falling down. If I can get this fixed up, and I can get out of Stampy's lair, you know, get out of this nut house. I got Stampy above me, and I got a guy with the Afghanistan war post-traumatic stress syndrome is on the other side of me in this 4-unit building. As far as I know, I don't have any drug dealers living here. So that's good. That's, you know, I've had so many, I had no mess situation. Before that, I had crack dealers throwing TVs and yelling in the hallway. And yeah, when you hear somebody, like, I'm going to go ahead and say this just because I first woke up, but at first I wouldn't say this just because of the extremely vulgar nature of it. And, I'm not going to do that as part of the story, though. It's much too early in the morning for good storytelling. But there's two lesbians up there. One of them was only known by the street name Red. And she was in a rage at the other one, whose name was something like Taisha. And it was like 0 degrees outside, and she was all dressed up, and she had a deep voice, and I didn't recognize her. She had a deep voice for a woman, and she was yelling obscenities and stuff. And she was acting a mess, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I saw her throw that TV, you know, like an old one of those weird strongman competitions they used to have on TV where they have a guy throw a rock, or they'd have a guy like, I think there's like a word with a K, like K bar, something like that. It's actually like a traditional Scottish strongman thing of throwing a log as far as you can and trying to clear like a bar or something behind you. But anyway, she was doing like old fashioned strongman stuff when she picked up this old box TV, not a flat screen, but a heavy TV, and she threw it. Red threw it at Taisha, and she was on the second floor landing, and she threw the TV almost 14 feet up in the air, and it exploded and hit the floor. And I'm like, I'm not going out there with that crazy dude, because I thought it was a dude. Anyways, one of her insults, and I'm watching out the people, and I was suppressing laughter, but I didn't say this before. One of her insults was, "And your pussy smell like garbage." And I heard that, and I was like, I wasn't going out there because I thought it was a dude, and it doesn't even matter if it was a dude. That's like sexist, because just because it's a little 100-pound woman doesn't mean she couldn't beat my ass up in the condition that I'm in. But I still felt cowardly the next day that I was afraid of a 100-pound woman. But she had like a Michelin Man coat on, so she looked more like she weighed 150. That coat made her look like she was 100 pounds, or made her look like she was 50 pounds heavier, and her voice was deep like a dude, maybe from smoking all that crack and all them Newports. But yeah, I didn't say that before, but your pussies smell like garbage, at the top of her lungs. And I didn't call the police on them then. I just don't call it. I just, But then I found out later that one got beat up, and that was the first time I ever called the police in my life. It's like, yeah, you better get over here, because um, the last time she got like beat up, and I called the cops, and it did absolutely no good, and it did nothing. The cop came and said, "I want to see your faces," and said there was no marks on the faces, so he was like, "Okay." There was just one guy, and I was like, and then 15 minutes later, they were yelling and screaming at each other at 3:25 in the morning, just as loud as they were before. So these people up here, I got a guy over there that's like, he's not cool with me right now. That's got the PTSD. Then I got these loud, inconsiderate people up here that I just kind of avoid. And so once I get to walking, man, I'm going to be walking the hell out of this nut house. I'll be walking all the time. Um, and I just have to believe that they can fix that. And believe that I can be walking. And even if I have to walk with pain, um, you know, as long as I'm not worried about falling over and getting hurt or tearing an ACL or spraining an ankle or breaking bones and stuff, I'll walk on it if it hurts. You know, whatever I got to do. I just have to find the right doctors, which is always difficult. Finding the right doctors is always difficult. The ones that'll work for you and that think the same way that you think and are cooperative and, believe what I have to say. My whole life I've had this issue with people believing what I have to say. And, you know, um, quickly, um, when I had a spinal tumor growing in me, I complained about pain in my legs, and people said it was just growing pains, and they minimized it. I've always been marginalized and minimized. They're like, that's just growing pains. It's not a big deal. And it turns out it's a spinal tumor pressing on my inside my spinal column, pressing on my actual spinal cord that was causing my growing pains. The growing pains was actually a tumor growing. And so by the time they got around to pulling that out, that did some damage, even though I had complained about it like for literally years. Just nobody would listen. And then when I got the spinal tumor out, and then I got the reconstruction surgery and caught the CRPS, I started complaining about pains in my legs again, and like just feeling wrong. And I was like, there's something wrong with me. Nobody listened. They said that's going to happen. You had major surgery, like you had one of the most physically traumatic surgeries a person could possibly have. You had spinal reconstruction. Of course, you're going to have post-operative discomfort. And I had a disease, and I was trying to tell them that. They just wouldn't listen. And that cost me dearly also, along with the growing pains thing. So I'm very used to not being believed when I say something. Um, and it having disastrous results. So it seems like you have to be like emotional and demonstrative and cry and stuff like that. And because I was raised around a guy that killed people, and you didn't whine and you didn't complain. I just state the facts. You know. That's why, like, when I cut my leg and I was covered in blood, I just walked in there and was calm. And they had, instead of me saying, like, I'm in dire straits here, they had visual evidence that I was fucked up that time. So they were like, there was blood everywhere. So I got bumped to the head of the line, man. I was given the VIP treatment because they thought I was bleeding to death. Because they saw, seeing is believing. Hearing what I say, people don't believe me. So they saw that blood and they were like, they forgot everybody else. They thought I was bleeding to death. And anyways, I don't remember what me and, everyone being a doubting Thomas around me had, I don't know how that tied into anything. But I thought I would say good morning briefly. And for this, if you can call an hour briefly. And report on my situation and admit that I did not, like, yesterday I just slept. I was just drained. I just slept all day yesterday. And I will post my volume intake over the time when I had my fever. Anybody that's following this or would be interested in this. Kind of looking forward to when I'm making videos, when I'm doing better. I am actually doing better than other videos on here where I'm, on the Xanax and suffering. Like some days I have videos on here where I'm just like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through the next hour, let alone a whole day of this. It's not like that anymore. And there is improvement, but when you have CRPS, it's kind of like, it's not the same type of improvement. That's when I was, in one video, I'm actually asking myself, why am I doing this? I'm asking myself, why am I putting myself through that? And I said, because better is better. It's like, you know, there's no light at the end of the tunnel for this, for me, for this, as far as the CRPS, but I can actually feel better and still have CRPS, but I can actually feel better, and I actually do feel better, because when I would wake up 6 months ago, all I would want to do is die. When I was going through, when I was still taking the Xanax and trying to taper off of that without the volume, and I just would wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, another day, almost panicky. And it's not like that anymore. Um, I'm not saying it's all sunshine and rainbows, and like in that video where I asked myself, why am I doing this? And my answer was, it's because better is better. It's like, even if, it seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel because you have an incurable disease, feeling better is still feeling better. And it's like, I could have the same psychological mindset as far as like, why do I even care about my knee being messed up? It's gonna hurt anyway after they get done with it because it's CRPS affected. And it's like, better is better, and I'll be able to walk around. I won't have to listen to what you can't quite hear right now, which is people stomping around. I won't have to listen to that 24/7. I won't be trapped like I'm in jail. I spend most of my time in my bedroom for a reason. It's because outside it's just too noisy, and my landlord he don't give a fuck if he's getting paid. That's what he cares about. He cares about getting paid on a regular basis. And like that hole in the wall thing, that's been there since it will be going on 3 months. I've had an 8-foot hole in my wall. And you know, if you're not all over him about stuff, he don't he won't fix stuff. At first he would fix stuff, but something changed, through the years. Because I've been renting here for like 8 years. So yeah, better is better. So even I'll still have a CRPS affected leg, and I still won't have pain in there, but I'll be able to walk on it. I'll be able to do things. I might even be able to go fishing, because I don't know if I'm talking to anybody that actually fishes, but it's like, if you've been fishing your whole life, like me, like literally my whole life, I have my earliest memory is fishing. My earliest memory is going to this place called Canal Fulton and catching a fish and bringing it home and putting it in a swimming pool, and it looking giant to me, but it was probably like a 10 or 12 inch bullhead catfish. And so fishing is just ingrained in my character, and I haven't been able to do that for years because of my leg. The last time I went fishing is my story about where I got hit by my own personal tornado, where a water spout kicked up on this little tiny pond, and I got hit with a tornado, and I went from like zero wind to gale force winds, and it was just me that got hit. And I was fishing with two other guys, and it didn't hit them because it was just like a small, little tiny tornado, like water spout deal. And I told that story elsewhere. But that was the last time I was fishing, and that's been like forever. Um, Shoot, that was probably a year and a half ago, and it was, all I did was walk and stagger over and sit in a chair and sit by the water. But I have a friend around here that used to be into fishing, and he's just not into it anymore. He doesn't fish anymore. And I actually own a boat that I've never been on. I own a boat. It's parked in somebody else's place in somebody else's yard because I can't park it around here. And so who knows? I try to be the eternal optimist. That I try to be the half full guy. I'm gonna get a full cup of coffee, man. So if you're like a half full guy, like the glass is half full, when you have a full cup of coffee, what does that mean? Does that mean it's overflowing? My cup overfloweth? I don't know. I'm gonna go get that coffee here and leave y'all be. I thought I'd say hello to my thousands and thousands of loyal followers, probably 12 people. But this will stay up here, and it's an honest account of somebody struggling through uh, physical dependence on benzodiazepine, among many other struggles, many other things that I've struggled through. And so, yeah, that's an hour and 5 minutes. That's plenty long enough to visit with y'all. You have to understand I'm older. TV used to be so boring in the 70s. There was like a very few good shows, like All in the Family. Kung Fu was a good show. But we had some pretty rank entertainment because competition improves quality. And like you can get all kind of good TV and good entertainment nowadays, man. You can get on Netflix and find shows like The Punisher, which I like, and there's just too much out. There's actually too much to follow all of it. Back in the day when we had no, I predate cable TV. Where the first cable TV, it wasn't even digital; it was analog. It was like a box where you turned a dial, and that's when MTV came out and Nickelodeon and ESPN and all that stuff. I remember when that all came out, but before then, you had your local broadcast channels, and I'm probably, a lot of people probably already know this, but cable TV actually started out as just like you were hooked up to a really powerful antenna because everybody was just using antennas in their house, and you get fuzzy reception on your TV. But if you got cable TV, that means you got a cable hooked up that was hooked up to a really powerful antenna, and you get like a crystal clear signal. That's what cable TV started out like. In case any young folks, why they would be listening to some old bald guy talk in bed, I don't know. But if you happen to be a young folk and don't remember this stuff, this is how cable TV started. And then they figured out, like, well, if we add channels, we can start charging more because it was really cheap at first. I mean, cable TV, I think it cost like $12.95 a month or something like that to get that crystal clear TV and not have to rely on rabbit ear antennas and your own antennas. And a lot of people would have you'd buy TV antennas and put them on top of your houses and stuff. But if you had the cable, man, you got the crystal clear picture. But they figured out, like, well, if you add channels to that, then they started adding pay channels where you could see the dirty stuff. And then they really started to, I think HBO was maybe the first one. And then they had Star Channel, I think, was one of the first, where they'd show the nudity and the violence and the sex and stuff in movies. The movie channel, Star Channel, I think, and HBO were among the earliest, the ones they added to. And now your cable bill can cost you as much as $150, $200 a month because they just figured this out. They just like, well, we're getting people to pay to get a clear signal, but if we add channels, we can attract more viewers, and then we can more cable subscribers, and then we can get more money. But back in my day, it was ABC, NBC, and CBS and PBS and some local stations that a lot of them just had religious fare, and that's all you got. That was it. So there's a walk down memory lane for some of y'all. There's like science fiction for some of you younger folks. Because I'm talking about the horse and buggy days of television. I don't even know if that made any sense, and this video is long enough, and it's time for me to get moving and get my coffee. Just wanted to say hello, allow you to see my smiling face And yeah, sometimes I don't know. I just like to wake up and assess how I feel in the morning, and I don't have any shame, which maybe I should have more shame. I don't know. I don't believe in shame, so I don't really care, you know. And I'm not looking for, to put ads on my video or to how to increase my followers. There's tons of videos on YouTube. Increase your viewership, increase your followers. It's like, listen, I ain't interested in none of that. I'm interested in leaving behind a document of, I like talking anyway, obviously. I'm interested in leaving behind that document of what benzodiazepam, what benzos actually do to your mind and your clarity and your emotions. And I wanted to show the true face of it, and I didn't want to dress it up and put on a tie and you know, get a nice shave and get on here and be at my best. I wanted to show you what it was really like and the kind of struggle that you might be up against if you're thinking about withdrawing or if you're curious about benzos. And my advice would be like find another way to deal with your anxiety if it's at all possible. Talk to people, take up hobbies, be active. You know, if it's a clinical thing and you really need to take benzos, just understand that you're boxing with the devil, and he's using 6-ounce gloves, and you're using 16-ounce gloves. So I don't know if that made any sense, but good morning and goodbye. It's only morning to me, but I'm still gonna pretend like we're all in the same time zone. You can see the morning sun. Looking at the morning sun. I don't know. I can't do lyrics. I can never remember lyrics. But I've been listening to a lot of Otis Redding lately, and like that's one of his worst songs. Was his hit song "Dock of the Bay." It's like that guy was a wonderful singer. These arms of mine, they long to hold you. This guy was great, and I didn't know that he died in a plane crash when he was 26. But like most people, I only knew him from the Dock of the Bay, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay song, which was this big hit. But man, that guy could sing. Good Lord. But yeah, that's something about the morning sun is from Dock of the Bay. Looking at the morning sun or something like that. But that's the morning sun coming in through that window. So that's why I say good morning to y'all. And even though it's probably not going to be morning when you listen to this, unless you're in the Eastern time zone of the United States. And I wish you a good day. And hopefully I will have a good day and get a good appointment time. And hopefully get this knee taken care of where I can walk around again. Hopefully no more heart issues and troubles, and I just have to deal with a measly old chronic pain disease in 70% of my body. Psh, easy peasy, no problem. No problem, man. If I can get to be where I'm walking around and benzo free, I can actually live like that, and I can be a cheerful person. I can be a cheerful person just in general anyway. I got that gift. I don't know if it's a gift or it's my Buddhist training from years of um, just generating them alpha waves and thinking them peaceful thoughts and just learning to let things slide. It's like, you know what, Stampy, you be Stampy. You do what you do. That is who you are. That is, maybe you're stamping for a medical reason. Maybe you're stamping for a psychological reason. Maybe you're stamping because you just feel like the world has been ignoring you and you just want to announce your presence to the world. But man, if you need to stamp, baby, you just go ahead and stamp. You just do what you do. So I got that whole like Buddhist philosophy about not getting worked up over things, you know. That's what made the meth situation so hard, taking up that machete and stuff. And that's what makes it hard when I go to a doctor. And I really have to be pushed because I just don't let myself get upset about things because I keep on that even keel. But that's what's hard about going to doctors for me is like when you go to a doctor and you're walking with a cane and barely keep him from falling over, and he said, well, we usually don't do anything about a Baker cyst as long as it doesn't affect your flexibility or your mobility. And I'm sitting there next to a cane. And then the Buddhist part of me goes away and I start thinking like, if I hit this guy in his head with his cane, how much time would I do in prison, I wonder? And, you know, the anger part comes up. You know, the deep-seated anger I have from growing up around extreme violence my whole life, or at least my first 20 years. And, yeah, but mostly I just let stuff go. So, you know, I mean, I can't bottle that and sell that, or I could probably like make a lot of money, but I can't bottle being optimistic and cheerful in the middle of dire circumstances. That's just the product of being in dire circumstances for decades and learning how to cope. I don't think you can teach that, you know. I don't think you could teach that to anybody. I mean, if I was like a snake oil salesman or I don't know the guy, but I'm going to throw his name out there, like a Tony Robbins type of motivational type of guy, where I could like, I can teach you to have peace of mind. I can teach you to have equanimity. I can teach you to have people stomping over top of you and just blow it off. And I can teach you to go through horrible physical trials and come through smiling and being able to laugh. It's like, no, I don't know how to teach you how to do that. I mean, that was probably just, uh, you know, an evolution in my personality based upon survival and having been through so much that I can laugh at things. I usually don't enjoy seeing blood leave my body at a higher rate of speed, but I've even laughed at that before. Like when they failed to cap that IV in my arm when I cut my leg, and blood was spurting out of the IV. Surprising, surprising distance, and the attending physician comes into the triage room and and he's like, for God's sakes, don't you think he lost enough blood? Put a cap on that thing. You know, I just started busting up laughing. But usually I don't enjoy, you know, there's certain things I still don't enjoy and I still can't laugh off. And a Baker cyst is, you know, I can laugh while I have a Baker cyst, but that is not a funny thing. That's an actually very painful thing. And to have to put up for 3 years and get misdiagnosed over it and not get it treated and still have it after all this time and not have been able to walk right for 3 years. I can laugh while that's going on, but that's not a funny situation. But it might be coming to a close. It might be the end of things. And yeah, we'll see how I am then. I'll come on here, you know, maybe I'll even like take care of my voice and sing you a tune. And like I'll have to have a lyric sheet to remember the lyrics because I can't remember the lyrics to anything. I don't know why that is. I do remember the lyrics to a song by Elmore James who goes back to the 30s that always cracks me up. From Look on Yonder Wall is the name of the song. He says, I know your man went to the war, and I know it was tough. I don't know how many men he killed, but I know he done killed enough. Look on yonder wall and get me down my walking cane. In other words, I'm getting the fuck out of here because I'm cheating on a war vet's wife. I'm cheating on a war vet. He's like, I don't know how many men he killed, but I know he done killed enough. Anyways, uh, God bless you if that's your thing. And I just like that expression. Um, God bless you. Good fortune to you if that's not your thing. And I hope you have a good day, and I hope I have a good day. I'm going to drink some coffee and make some phone calls. My voice is leaving me anyway, and I'm turning into Pork Froggy. And this video was, of course, miles longer than it needed to be. But hey, that's me. That's who I am. Capiche? So I will wish you a good day, and I will talk to you in a few days and let you know what's going on with me, because I do enjoy the sound of my own voice, even if you do not. If you made it this far, you do, obviously. That didn't make any sense at all. But yeah, sometimes I bore myself. So sometimes, like, when I want to go to sleep, I'll listen to the video that I made and I'll go to sleep on it. I'm like, I don't know if that's what's the expression they have nowadays? ASMR, that has something to do with alpha waves. I've been told like I have that kind of voice that's like a relaxing type of voice or whatever. My voice sounds horrible to me right now, but I've been told that by a few people. So I will actually, when I want to go to sleep, I will bore my own self to sleep and listen to one of my own videos until I go to sleep. So, as bizarre and narcissistic as that sounds, it's a lot easier to go to sleep to my uh, mellifluous, dulcet, uh, beautiful, I can't think of any other words, the smooth tones that come from my, oh God, the smooth tones that come out from me. Uh, it's a lot easier to go to sleep to that than the episodes of The Punisher or TV shows or westerns or people shooting at people or whatever. So when the baseball season comes, I'll use baseball as a sleeping pill. I will buy a MLB subscription on the computer because I'm just losing the TV altogether, and just using the computer to watch TV on. And I got this ridiculous 50-inch TV that eats electricity. That's a plasma TV. That's an electricity eater anyway. So as soon as my TV subscription, the Dish TV, is up, that's it for me. No more TV. I only got that because I thought I might have a friend that would come over and watch sports with me, because I don't have a lot of friends, and that never materialized. So, hey, there's a bird chirping outside that you probably can't hear because I have the microphone positioned a certain way. But birds like me they're always cheerful in the morning. They sound cheerful anyway. Who knows? That one might be telling the other one to fuck off in bird talk. Who knows? Anyways, um, like I said, God bless, good fortune. Try to have a good day if you're in the Eastern time zone. If you're in other time zones, I hope you already had a good day. If you're using me to go to sleep too, like I use myself, because I am boring, uh, that's fine too. I love being useful in any capacity. It's like they say they can laugh at me or laugh with me. As long as they're laughing, I am serving a purpose. So, goodbye to all you fine, kind-hearted folks out there in the world. Hey, click off. Why aren't you clicking off?